So, I'm just going to record my thoughts on this one and try my best. This is like a full-on devlog. So I'm going to discuss the problems we're having, where my thoughts are at, and what it is I'm trying to do. So, we've created a game that allows different versions of chess to face each other, right? So I could play the chess army, I could play the shogi army, I could play whatever this is. I don't want to explain it right now, but that's how that works. Now, my biggest problem child, by far, is Xiangqi. Because the king safety is weak, the position is open and loose, and it does not play well with the things that aren't in its base game, which are diagonal moving pieces and leapers that ignore blocks. Because the horses can be blocked, and that matters a lot. And it just has no diagonal defense at all. And we're playing with different solutions, like diagonals just can't work inside of here, or we add another piece that covers that diagonals, which I'm partial to. It's called the Guardian Lion. And we've balanced a lot of these other armies with something we call the ramparts, right? Like most recent major update, pretty big one, is this nonsense where you could put other pieces you need to balance the matchup. In this case, 2 Guardian Lions, a rook and a horse, right? So you, I don't know, throw the rook here, throw the horse here, whatever. And then you could just play. And now you have a little bit more support, and these pieces happen to cover these specific squares. So you're not getting just instantly mated by the queen, the diagonals can be blocked, and that kind of thing. And it works. It works pretty well. We're also deleting enemy pawns and going through all this rigmarole to try to make it feel like Xiangqi when you're playing the Xiangqi army. And it just... it's really annoying. Because targeting like leapers and diagonals it creates situations where the reason someone will play an army might just be gone. Like Twin Suns, almost the whole army is leapers, right? Let me throw this one down. This piece jumps and attacks, 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 this piece is removed from the matchup, this piece is removed from the matchup. And literally all of these, like, either it comes in and just instantly starts doing absolutely bonkers bullshit because it could basically teleport the knight there and the flare here, and it's already checkmate, right? Because bam, bam, this moves forward, bam, bam, and that's got that covered, right? And it's almost there. If you happened to move like an elephant here, you're already dead. Even though, like, your cannon can cover things this way, then they just stack up a little bit more offense over here, or bring this piece in to cover the last square, and whoop-de-doo, you're actually dead now. Or you end up dying here, right? So, just as an example, I'm just going to teleport these in. Boom. Oh no, you move here. This gets here somehow. Trust me, it does kind of feel like this during the game. Then, oh, the knight's covering both of those, and this guy's targeting you this way, and it's not like you can block him like you can a horse, so... because this holds those 3 squares, only legal move is here, and then usually it'd be like lilac here. Nope. Now this is your only legal move, and oh, almost dead. What was it going to be? It's probably this. Now you are actually dead. And it's just ridiculous. This is a slightly stronger queen. It has a non-capturing knight jump, by the way. And that's just one example. Like, it makes many of our other battalion ideas just unfeasible. I make something attack heavy that's supposed to play fast, and it's just out tempos the Xiangqi army. I make something that has diagonals, and all of a sudden the Xiangqi army needs like some combination of a bajillion different ideas that stop them from just instantly dying to a chess queen just getting into their shit. Like, let's just remove this real quick. That's checkmate. If it's not for this piece or the four wins rule. And that all being said, there are solutions to this that work amazing that we're just not using. So, for example, we decided not to use this, where instead of making you cross the moat first, you could just instantly sidestep, and you're able to make a real pawn structure. But oh no, Xiangqi does that, and we don't want to look like we're just copying Xiangqi. Even though it's a great idea, and it really helps to not have to cross the moat first before this goes sideways. But no, it needs to stay open for the game feel. Or, hey, rather than giving them a horse and a rook, what if we gave them a piece that's both? Call it the dragon. Oh, and we give the Xiangqi army something cool to work with. But no, that's also a terrible idea, because once you're playing with that piece, it doesn't feel like Xiangqi at all. That's not a Xiangqi thing to do. And even though we have maintained all of the normal opening theory, all of the normal ideas that you can do in Xiangqi that are just like good moves, we addressed this cannon just coming in and wrecking everything, and we've had that addressed for years with the loading rule, tried and true. It still doesn't feel right. And it's like trying to chase that feel right is the problem. I think we're just trying too hard to make it feel right, and we should just make it play right and play in a way that's compatible with the game instead of altering the game to fit Xiangqi. But it's not like we can't utilize Xiangqi. It's not like we just can ignore the most played chess variant in the world. Calling it a chess variant is almost insulting to the game. At certain points in history, including possibly about 5-10 years ago, it was more played than chess, just because of China's population. This game is so popular in China, chess isn't popular there. You understand? And so if we're including major world variants and trying to bring stuff together and create a framework that lets these games face each other, we have to include Xiangqi. It's just a question of how. I'll have to edit this. So, there's a theory that I had a while back about king safety and king geometries, right? And that was about games designed with this king, the king that can move one square in any direction, all fundamentally having the same types of necessary geometries for mating. Xiangqi is not one of those games. Even Xiangqi isn't one of those games, but it's closer. And that closeness of the game being designed with a king that can only move orthogonally and can't leave the palace has fundamentally left it weak. Because when your king moves like this, relatively speaking, these rooks are kind of queen strength in comparison to that king. And because it has that weak king and this open position, and these four pieces specifically designed to help cover the king's weaknesses so that you can basically have that second queen, it plays very different than chess. Like, I suppose the chess equivalent of this type of game feel, if I just set it up real quick. Like, imagine I have two of these armies. And then you have all of this. I suppose you put this piece here-ish. And then you also specifically include 2 king movers here and here. And even that isn't like fully giving it the credit it deserves. Like, what's the piece that we're using for the king mover? I suppose it would be this one, right? So this here, and they're just able to, you know, it just moves like a king. So it's able to help defend against this. And maybe even like put this here and summon another one here. And then probably replace the bishops with something, right? Something that moves as both a king and a bishop to 2. And that would be equivalent. And that would be the chess power level type deal to try to get, like, ooh, develop your pieces and get things out. And even that doesn't fully cover it because we don't have like a... I suppose you would put the rooks here and maybe like an extra pawn here. And put the queens back here. It would be this type of idea. But then you're targeting where the other pawn would be. So I guess you need the solid pawn line. And then this game that I have set up right here with the whole extra queen for offense and the whole king movers for defense has the same types of principles as the Xiangqi army, but it's going to have those chess pawn structure ideas with like interactions in the middle of the board and trying to get shit out and the knights coming forward to specifically hold this square. It would be weird. But even this, I can't, even going as far as I have, using the chess pieces and concepts, I can't recreate that game feel because fundamentally it needs that dial back in order to achieve the open position. But if chess pieces, you know, other than the rook, which is specifically defended against by 4 pieces in each army dedicated to preventing the rook from being able to dominate, as well as your own rooks being able to do stuff to counteract the enemy rooks, right, in Xiangqi, you have 4 pieces just dedicated to making sure the rook can't instantly kill you. Relatively speaking, these pieces are all similar or greater scale than the rook. These normal chess pieces. And you don't have pieces dedicated in the enemy army to solving that, and if you did, it would be cluttered. Right? Like, say you replaced both of these with king movers, which we've thought about, right? We just do that real quick. Like, this is the type of thing you have to do in order to properly guard this army against all threats, right? We've done it in other ways, but this is one example. Yeah, let's just... boom. Put him in a box. He has his friends. Everything's good. He's just nigh untouchable now. And he just has weaker offensive power than this army. So it's now someone with a lot of offensive power fighting someone with a lot of defensive power, which we've balanced it in that type of way before. Like, I'm going to ignore opening salvo for now. Let me delete all of this. This is a way we've gotten it pretty close to balance before, right? Let me do. And then you also have a cannon in hand. We currently have a rule where you're able to delete enemy pawns. Let's ignore that. If you're just adding shit to this army, this is it. This is enough. You are golden if you do this. Because now, in order to cover this guy, you're jumping over the elephant. In order to cover this guy, you move the elephant here. The cannons cover each other. You're able to push these safely, get the horse behind them, be able to develop properly. You just have to find the right timing, and you're good. You're golden. This is all you have to do. It's just cannon, rook, horse. Basically, you're down one queen against the enemy army, and then we give you one set of pieces to cover the diagonals. But guess what? This creates incredibly tense closed positions that don't feel Xiangqi-like and don't necessarily feel good because your opponent has tons of tiny pieces and they're just, and they're slowly walking forward, and like you as the chess army have to like deal with different things your opponent has done, like, oh, you don't want your rook to die once loading's over. Oh, your king's going to be in check once loading's over, so you got to find a way to deal with that, something like this and this if you really want a turtle, but that leaves your queen vulnerable. Like, and then you can even do this type of idea and sidestep it to make an open file, but then that brings this danger, so that's probably a bad idea. If you do this double step and then the thing comes over, you can block with bishop or knight and kind of be okay. And then every time we make a single change to this army, it dominoes through the rest of the matchups. Like this method of setting up a just enough stuff to be able to defend everything, right? Because now, if we just do a quick analysis of board control, this is the area of the board that this army controls by default. So I will only circle their targeted squares, right? That's it. Everything else is a weak point. They don't even protect most of their pieces. They protect the horses and these soldiers, and that's it. And then if we add this stuff, now, in addition, they also protect this line. They also protect these squares. And they also protect this, right? And you are a turn away, a single turn away, either here or here, from being able to also protect, well, a single turn away from being able to protect this and this. You are a single turn away from being able to protect this at the cost of protecting that. And you have ways to make these guys get defended and these guys get defended, like you always do in Xiangqi. Probably this way because of where you put your cannon. And you're golden. You're able to hold it together because we give you just enough that you can solve your defensive issues in time. Just barely enough. And it felt too defensive to fight because you just couldn't infiltrate. And on one hand, that gameplay style of, hey, I'm hard to hit, but I'm sitting here and I'm moving closer, and it's like slowly picking apart a essentially closed position with open lines still there. So inexplicably, it feels like you can't do anything despite the fact that there's open files. And somehow this was wrong. And that's annoying as fuck, to be frank. And on the other hand, like I said, if we just, I don't know, add that dragon piece, which has both of these guys' movement, I don't know, delete this and buff these so that they can move sideways from the start. They don't have to move forward twice. All of a sudden, different game, different issue. It won't feel like Xiangqi, of course, because you can close files suddenly and you can do weird shit. But we've played with it before, and it has felt pretty good before. And we've also, you know what would be wild? If we do this, even if we don't give them the double step immediately, if we do this, all of a sudden we don't have to worry about loading anymore. Hey, loading doesn't have to be a thing. Now we don't have to have that extra rule. But no, this isn't Xiangqi like. So we can't alter the base pieces, we can't alter the base layout. Okay, fine. So don't alter base pieces, don't alter base layout. Can we add pieces that don't belong in the army? Maybe. Debatable. Can we add rules to restrict the opponent? Maybe. Debatable. Where's the line? Where's the line on any of that? I don't know. I've been working on this for a decade, and with this army specifically, we've always either found band-aid solutions that we hold on to for a long time because it really works. It's a band-aid, it's not Xiangqi anymore, but it works. And every time someone questions it, we say, it works, don't worry about it. Which, fair, I guess. Notably, the elephants cover these two, so you can push them and then move the horse and be fine, even if you block this. That's an important note on the development of this army. It's just a matter of covering this. And if you're ever worried about this guy and this guy too much, you can move here after moving the elephant and you cover everything. Woohoo. Two moves, you've basically fixed every issue your army ever had. Sure, they could still come here, but they didn't even used to have that. You used to be able to go here and just lock them out of these, but we limited the lion. If I want to make a fun army that uses Xiangqi rules and Xiangqi rules, I've done that. I balanced it. It was good. It was called Western Dynasty now. It used to just be called the Palace. The elephant had the combined rules of both the Xiangqi and Xiangqi elephant. The cannon had the combined rules of the Xiangqi and Xiangqi cannons. It had extra soldiers. It had all kinds of shit. It was super balanced too. It played great. It just didn't feel like Xiangqi, and it felt disingenuous and insulting. And I don't want to insult those player bases, and I don't want to insult those games by, hey, it's the same game, we could combine them, right? Because that's a problem. Because these are cultural games, right? Xiangqi, Xiangqi, chess. Picking specifically two of them in a game like this and just going, hey, yeah, you're the same. You can't do that. Even if it played really well. It played really well. I'm frustrated. I'm not going to give up on this army, but I'm so very tempted to go back and just remove the excess noise from the game. Put a maximum number of battlefield movements per piece or something. I don't know. Battlefield charges feel terrible, by the way. After playing with them, I do not like them. I do not like them at all. Like, it works great in theory, but in practice, it just feels so dumb. Ugh. We also had cool ideas that didn't feel like Xiangqi before. Like, because the Xiangqi pieces are stacked like little discs, we could have the initial setup have, like, I don't know, instead of putting a rook back here, we could have had, like, hey, you have an extra rook, horse, and cannon to stack on these. And the first time you move them, you only move the top one, right? And that type of idea was interesting. I liked it from like a tactile perspective. I don't know what to do.